Hi everyone, my name is Bridget and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to go directly into the message. I want to make something very clear. Choosing the path of Jesus is not all rainbows and unicorns. If you are serious about walking the path, be prepared to have everything you thought was real challenged, questioned, and deconstructed. At times, it can feel as though you are being pulled apart from the inside out. This is why Jesus spoke of the narrow path. Because this journey requires us to go within, surrender what no longer aligns with God, and allow the person we thought we were to be transformed. But on the other side of that deconstruction is something this world cannot give you, an internal peace that comes from knowing God. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." You are the me. You have to take the journey within, through yourself, to find out who you were created to be. And that is the journey I want to speak about today. There was a time on my journey with God when someone who witnessed my transformation accused me of having spiritual psychosis. And I want to be honest with you. There have been moments on this journey when I've questioned my own sanity. I've asked myself, am I really seeing what I think I am seeing? Am I hearing God correctly? Or is this God that I am hearing? Because awakening isn't always comfortable. When everything you have been taught begins to be questioned, when your understanding of yourself begins to change, when you begin seeing life, relationships, and the world differently, and when you begin responding to people differently, you can find yourself questioning the person you are becoming. But as I reflected with God, something deeper began to reveal itself to me. Perhaps humanity has been living in such a deep disconnection from our spiritual nature for so long that we have come to believe that disconnection is normal. We are spiritual beings. Yet we have created a world that teaches us to focus almost entirely on the physical. We are taught how to make money, how to build careers, how to compete, how to acquire, how to survive. But how often are we taught how to know ourselves? How often are we taught how to listen within? How often are we taught how to develop our relationship with God? Instead, spirituality is often dismissed as something strange, irrational, or even laughable. And when an entire society becomes disconnected from something fundamental to its nature, that disconnection can begin to feel normal. We call it life. We stop questioning it. We become distracted. We become conditioned. We become absorbed in the external world, and we forget to look within. So when someone begins to wake up from that conditioning, it can look very strange from the outside. And perhaps that is why I have come to understand awakening differently. Awakening is the process of waking up to your spirituality, not abandoning reality, not believing that you are better than anyone else, not assuming that every thought or experience is a message from God, but becoming conscious of something that has always been within you. Your relationship with God, your conscience, your inner life, your responsibility, your heart. And when that begins to awaken, you may start seeing things differently. You may start responding differently. The person who once reacted in anger may become choosing peace. The person who once needed everyone's approval may no longer seek it. The person who tolerated everything may finally establish boundaries. The person who constantly explained themselves may become comfortable with silence. The person who once allowed others to define their worth may finally understand their worth comes from something deeper. And suddenly people say, "You've changed," and they are right. You have changed, but they may not understand why. Because they know the version of you that they were comfortable with. They knew how you would react. They knew what you would tolerate. They knew how to push your buttons. They knew the person you had been conditioned to be. And now you no longer fit the picture they created of you. So they may think something is wrong with you. They may even think you are losing your mind. But sometimes what they are actually witnessing is transformation, because your awakening has become a mirror. Your peace may mirror their inner conflict. Your boundaries may expose their expectations. Your willingness to look within may remind them of what they have avoided within themselves. Your surrender may challenge their need for control, and your transformation may force them to confront the possibility that perhaps there is another way to live. But here is where I believe we need discernment, because awakening does not mean everyone who disagrees with us is asleep. It does not mean every unusual experience is spiritual, and it does not mean we should ignore genuine mental health concerns. Those experiences are real, and people deserve compassion, support, and appropriate care. Spirituality should never become an excuse to abandon reality. In fact, I believe genuine spiritual awakening should bring us more deeply into reality, more conscious, more grounded, more compassionate, more humble, more accountable, more willing to examine ourselves. Because the greatest danger on the spiritual journey is believing that awakening makes us superior to other people. It doesn't. If anything, awakening should make us more willing to say, I may be wrong. I still have things to learn. God, show me what I cannot see. And that is something I've had to learn myself, because I have questioned my own sanity. I've questioned my own perceptions. I have questioned whether what I was experiencing could possibly be real. But perhaps that questioning has also been part of my discernment, because I don't want blind faith or blind belief. I don't want to believe something simply because it feels spiritual. I want truth. I want to be able to examine myself. I want to be willing to be corrected. And I want my relationship with God to produce something tangible in the way I live. Because Jesus didn't teach us to spend our lives judging everyone else. He continually brought people back to the condition of the heart. Look within, examine yourself, remove the plank from your own eye. And that is where the mirror becomes powerful, because awakening begins to reveal not only what is happening around us, but what is happening within us. Our fears, our wounds, our attachments, our reactions, our motives, our conditioning, the things we have been carrying, the things we need to release. And perhaps this is why awakening can feel so uncomfortable, because you are no longer able to hide from yourself in the same way. You begin to see yourself and you begin asking, is this really aligned with God? That question can change everything, because perhaps humanity's greatest problem isn't that we are inherently broken. Perhaps it is that we have become deeply out of alignment with our spiritual nature. We have been distracted from what matters. We have been taught to seek everything outside ourselves. We have been taught to look for validation, identity, security, and fulfillment in the external world. And then we wonder why we feel empty. Awakening begins to turn our attention inward, not to worship ourselves, but to rediscover our relationship with God. And this is why the awakening journey can become confronting. Because when you begin changing, not everyone will understand. Some people will only know the version of you that existed before your awakening. But you cannot spend your entire life remaining who someone else needs you to be, simply because they are uncomfortable with your transformation. You were not created to fit someone else's picture of you. You were created to discover who God created you to be. And perhaps the greatest evidence of awakening isn't what you say. It is how you live, how you respond when you are hurt, how you treat people when you have nothing to gain, how you handle rejection, how you handle power, how you handle your own mistakes, whether you can forgive without returning to unhealthy patterns, whether you can establish boundaries without hatred, whether you can walk away without revenge, whether you can remain grounded when people misunderstand you, and whether you remain humble when people praise you. Because awakening isn't about escaping humanity, it is about becoming more fully human through alignment with God. So if you are walking through an awakening and you find yourself questioning everything, pause, pray, reflect, stay grounded, and ask God, what are you showing me? Because perhaps the person who is accusing you of changing is showing you something, and perhaps you are showing them something too. You have become a mirror, and not everyone will like what they see in that mirror. Your life becomes the mirror, and that mirror is not here to show humanity what is wrong with us, but to remind us of who we were created to be. So that's my message for today. Wishing you a magical day. God bless.